Hi, so I've had a really old sofa. I got it free on the Facebook Marketplace. It's that one. And it was really discolored. It didn't have any rips in it or anything like that, but it was like yellowish instead of greeny. So I've decided to restore it, but I didn't want to lose the whole character, so I still wanted it to have the aged look without it looking like brand new. So I've restored the back of it, the tufted bits, and I've repainted the seats. And then I've got another one, the one at the very back. So with that one, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, if I repaint the lot or if I do the same as I did on this one. It came out pretty well. I'm quite pleased with it. We can use it now because before you'll see the cushions was absolutely like beyond. The back was alright, which is discolored, but the cushions was quite bad. So I did quite a bit of work on that. So if you are thinking of restoring yours, either repainting or just touching up, this will be a good tutorial for you to watch. Hope it'll be helpful. So this is what I've used. I know it's quite a lot, but don't be scared, I'll talk you through it. So I've cleaned everything with this, but I reckon any good leather cleaner would do well. So that was it. After that, I used a bit of that to remove some coating, especially on the seats, so I've rubbed it. And to do that, I used that, and I've used those cotton wool balls. They look like that. They're from Boots. So that was for cleaning, and then I used Spirit later. That was for later, and that one. And then I've sanded. It is important with the sanding paper that you use this one, like the smaller one, because I'll show you in comparison. So this one is, I think it's 80, so obviously that one's used, but see how rough this one is? And this one is quite fine, yeah? So it is important to use really fine one because it will damage your leather. Right, after that, I've used this, which is a crack filler, and I just use, like, you know, you could use old credit card. I just used a gift card that I had. I used my manicure scissors just to chop like any rough bits. This was the glue. So you can buy this glue from the supplies, the leather supplies, but I don't know if I closed it properly. I just bought mine from Screwfix, I think. It worked out a lot cheaper. Then those was the main event product. Oops, hold on. So that was the leather color restorer. That's the one I used at the back of the sofa. And this was the dye kit, so that was the actual dye. And this is like an adhesive to help it to stick to. And then I used some sponges. I've used quite a few of those. Those just like a cheap kitchen sponges. And then at the end, I've used this. But again, you could use any. That one's not critical. So this is what I've started with. It was quite a bit of discoloration. The back was like this when I got it. The seat cushions were a little bit more greener, but I've cleaned it with the Spirit I showed you in the previous clip. And then I just moved on to quick hoovering, just to remove a bit of hair because I've got a dog, to give it a thorough clean. It is important to get all the bits out because, you know, once you start using the material, the restore balm and the paint, it does pick every little bit off. So that was quite important. With the cushions, I already filled it with the filler, so it was all ready to go once it's cleaned. This was the bit the previous owner's cuts damaged. As you can see, it got a lot of scratches. So I started with the paper, with 320, the sandpaper. Give it quite a gentle scrub. It did pick a lot of leather, start peeling even more, so I took my manicure scissors and just cut off a bigger chunks, because otherwise, you know, once you start filling it with the filler, it just flakes and it's difficult to work with. So sanding, a bit of bits cutting off, and then after that I moved sand it again, and then I moved to the filler. Another important part of this was to clean it with a spirit, to degrease it, because otherwise your next layer, in my case it was a filler, it just wouldn't stick on. So sand, degrease, and then this is the colored filler. The color is, as you can see, not really green. It's a bit more turquoise, but later on you'll see that that worked out fine. It wasn't an issue. So I put it on roughly, and then I start smoothing it, and I find if you go against the grain, it does pick the bits and highlights it. But if you go the other way, so you have to find which way, obviously on your sofa the grain would be, and then just go with the grain, and then that would create a smoother level. Because with this one, if you go down, all the little bits, they start, highlighting even more. And again, with this one, you could put one layer, wait a little bit, let it dry a little bit, and then go in with the next one. I just build mine quite gradually, just adding little bits at a time. Make sure you do the sides as well, because this is the bits that is the front of the sofa, so it will be quite visible and quite stands out in the first glance. So I did spend quite a bit of time on that section, but it was important to get it right. This section was the only really damaged section, so I've made sure I filled it on all the sides, waited a bit between, let it dry a little bit, then gone in again and made it as smooth as possible, because it's, like I said, it's on the front, so you really see that part. Next part was degreasing. Again, I used the surgical spirit from Boots. You could buy it in any supermarket or Boots or anywhere in UK. And I've cleaned the whole sofa with that. The reason for that is that if you don't prep your leather, then the next layer just wouldn't stick because of the natural oils from use and in the leather. This is me going in with the Restore Balm. Like I said, I didn't really want to fully repaint the back of the sofa because I wanted to retain the character. So I just went in and started. To start with, I was like doing like a strokes, but then I found out the easier method, it was to use like a dabbing method. It was using less of a product and it was creating a better finish with no strokes or anything. So this was my first attempt to, I've tried both methods, and then I've just, again, on the front, put a bit more of the product, and then you'll see later I will be going with another coat. So this took me quite a while because it is quite a long process. As you can see, it's drying in between, and then I'm going in, applying a bit more, and it's just, you have to be very patient with this part of it. And as it is quite a large piece, wherever you missed, go back in, and then I've worked my way all the way around the sofa. This is the other view from it. As you can see, it gives a nice shine already. Even with one coat, you can see that it does restore the condition of the leather. It doesn't make it look brand new, but it just gives it that shine and that kind of, nice antique weathered look without being too discolored. Another challenge with this type of sofa is having all the little buttons in there, tufted bits, so I made sure that I get all inside. I have seen tutorials where people use actually two colors if you want to go really adventurous. If you got similar type of sofa, have a go. It looks spectacular. It's just even more work, and this took me ages. So I just stuck with one color. But obviously you could take a black or like a really dark green color for the inner bits, and then use the main color on the rest. So this is me carrying on again with the rest of it. My worry was that I haven't got enough product because as you can see, it's a really small jar, but surprisingly it was, I didn't use that much. it was very, very economical, and it was with this method, was dubbing it. I wasn't using that much product, but it was given a really good coverage. Even with one coat, as you can see here, it does color it, and you can see that discoloration is disappearing. So yeah, I was quite pleasantly surprised, because I bought that one, and then I thought I probably need another 3 or 4 to start with, because it was going. But no, it's that one for the, I would say, for this sofa, and the other one that I've got, it probably will be enough. So this was the most difficult part of this renovation, because as I mentioned, cushions definitely seen a better day. That was the main reason I decided to repaint them rather than even try to, to restore, because they was well beyond gone. They were really cracked, discoloration. It wasn't actually massive tears or anything, so I didn't need to glue it or anything like that, but I did use a lot of filler, and I've let it dry, and then you see me here applying the adhesive, which is a really big part of the whole process, because it will keep your color actually in place, stop it from bleeding or anything like that. So I would definitely not skipping this part. And after your adhesive layer dried, then you can start applying the actual color. So to start with, I've used a sponge, and very quickly realized that it uses way too much product. And as you can see, the bottle is teeny tiny. So I've tried sponge, and then I thought, right, I'm just not going to do that, because it's, not economical. Another issue with this cushion was that it had previously been repaired, and it had that white stuff. I don't know what it was. I've removed quite a lot of it with alcohol, but it was still few bits. That is the reason I left it uncolored, because I was just worried that it wouldn't give a good coverage and I'll have the patches. So I moved to another cushion, applied the coat on the other one, which didn't have any dodgy stuff on it, and I gone back and used my filler to cover the white things, which look like a PVA type thing. So just to get it above an even coat, and then obviously I left it to dry. Then while that was drying, I used the paint, and I've applied some adhesive to them parts as well, to color the front bits where the cut scratches were, because the restore balm just didn't give it enough coverage, so I wanted it to look, quite intense, with intense color. So that was the reason I gone over with the paint. And as you can see, I'm using just my glove. I would recommend using glove because it does stain your hands, but it used way less product, just touching up in there with a sponge, but it used way less product with a glove. It actually gives a really good finish. So here I'm going with the second coat. I did let it dry quite a bit in between the coats, and then just applied it kind of with a dabbing motion, and it gives it a good coverage. Didn't use a lot of product. So for these 2 cushions, I've covered obviously the top and the sides. I've used probably 3/4 of that teeny tiny bottle. If I use the sponge, I probably wouldn't even have enough for one, because it was just disappearing really fast. So glove is the way to go, and it's less messy and it's disposable, so you could just throw it away when you're done. So here's my cushion with the filler dried, and I'm sanding it again with that light 320 sanding paper, just to get the main bits, like a roofer bits, off. Then I have applied the color here, and then I've realized that I forgot to put the adhesive. So so don't do that. Just stick to the process, and maybe if you, like me, can't remember anything, take notes of what you've done. So I've applied the color, and then it's all right, I haven't got adhesive, so I let it dry, and then I've applied adhesive on the top of that color just to make sure that the next layer will stick. I think it would have been okay without, but just in case. So again, that take time. So if you need it doing in a rush, it's just not going to work that well. You need to give it, I'd say, a couple of days between, you know, especially with the filler. Filler is quite, it's got like it's like a, I don't know how to describe it, like a silicone type thing, you know, like a cork that you use for the filling. It kind of like that, but with a bit of clay. I don't know what it is, but it's quite strange. But it does work, obviously. While my cushions was drying, I took a leather balm and decided to go over the restore balm. Just it's not like it was dry, but I just wanted it to be more, you know, like a luxurious leather. So I thought I had that balm. I mean, I think you can use any. To be fair, I think you could do without that step. I don't think that essential. It did make it a little bit softer, but it did disturb the color. So I was halfway and I was thinking, do I do it, do I not? Because it kind of, it's not moved it massively, but it did disturb it a little bit. So I had to touch it up in a few places. So depending on your leather condition, I think you can easily skip this step and you kind of won't notice. I did use like a cotton cloth for that one, and you can see a little bit of color going on the cloth. So I think it's quite optional. By that time, my cushions were dry, so I went with the adhesive coat again on the sides, because again, those bits you'd see. Put another layer of the color on the top and the sides, and that's them done. That is the 3 coats. That's obviously the side with nothing on, and then you'll see in a minute it's 3 coats on this one. It's still wet. So my verdict, would I recommend doing this? I would. Yeah, I think it looks so much better now. Dog loves it. It doesn't look brand new, and I didn't aim for it to look brand new. It looks aged, but like gracefully aged, like myself. And it is usable now. So I'd say just go for it. Do your prep, obviously, and, you know, do your research on your leather and stuff, and just go for it. I am going to do another one. I'm going to do that one at the back, and I'm going to show you this one, because this one's there, like I've covered it, but it's a bit, yeah, this needs a bit of work doing. So that would be next project. Consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll post that one as soon as I do it, hopefully in the next few weeks. See you later.